That first shot was just how this hangs like a bat every day in my house, next to the house torch, the Leatherman, the Lead Lenser P7. Those two form the foundation of the daily tasks of sort of facing the unexpected around the home. So they keep hung by the green paracord lanyards that have sort of started to get a bit dirty and crummy now. And whenever a task comes up that needs, either some illumination or some tinkering, the lead lenser and the Leatherman Rebar are called into action. I've already spoke about the lead lenser several dozen videos down. Lead lenser P7 is a great torch, now probably a bit defunct because it's the P7 too, but that's a good one. But this review is about how the Leatherman Rebar has held up. The main reason I'm doing this is because there's a lot of talk about this was kind of released the same year as the Wingman and the Sidekick. And approaching one of the videos you're going to see soon is the long-term use review of the Leatherman Wingman. And to be frank, and it is a bit of a spoiler, but that thing has fallen to pieces. It's a one-hand opening tool, so the knife blade is just wobbly as, and you can't fix it. The threads of the screws have mucked up. And it's not even been not been as used anywhere near as often as this rebar here. And there's been several other problems with it as well. The pliers have loosened, just things that probably are warranty issues, but to be honest, I'm just not that fussed about getting Wingmans or Sidekicks back again because they've done a dash with me. However, for the same price in Australia, you can get one of these. And this thing has been used, as I said, by me and my wife for a year and a half now. Every day, it's been hanging there every day. Hard use, light use, all different sorts of use, all the different tools engaged, and it is held up completely perfectly. Even the finish still looks good, and everything else is just spot on. So let's go through the tool. I'll go through each tool individually, let you know if I use it, how often I've used it, and what sort of things I use it for. Okay. So we'll start off with the saw. So the saw, I don't particularly take this out into the woods and use the saw on little bits of twigs for firecraft. However, I do use it for breaking down heavier fibrous materials. So I've used it on things like MDF. I've used it on things like door locks and window sills. I've used it sort of as a bit of a key saw. So when things around the house aren't quite lined up, or if they need a bit gorged out of them, I'll use this little Leatherman saw. Pretty much just the first inch or so of it, just getting it into little tight spots. It's a great little thin saw, and it's sort of got almost as a safety hook on it, so you don't instantly skewer anything that you put it up against. So it's a really, really good Leatherman saw, used somewhat often. Next is the Phillips head screwdriver. That's a pretty common user. We're getting this out all the time. Most things, remote controls, computer keyboards, mouses, all that sort of thing, all fit this Phillips head screwdriver. It's nice and long, it locks, very, very good tool. Probably one of the best and most valuable tools on the Leatherman Rebar. Next tool is the can opener and the bottle opener. So I don't use it as a can opener, but as a good bottle opener. And when you've got friends over and I don't have my Gerber dime in my pocket, this is the one I'll go for because it's hanging right next to the door. I recommend you do the same. If you've got a house multi-tool, put a dedicated hookup for it and you'll find yourself using it all the time rather than forcing some other tool to do the job. Serrated knife. Funnily enough, I've used this quite often for cutting up salami. It's really, really sharp and it cuts, it's probably still got a bit of schmutz on there actually. It just cuts really, really well on your fresh materials. Every so often you'll have people over and you get like a brie or something as well, like a cheese. Doesn't make a bad cheese knife, just in a pinch, as long as you've cleaned it, and I will clean this. It does the job and it does it quite well. The plain blade is your opening packages, your everything blade. It's better than using a big clumsy kitchen knife because you've got less blade out in the play, so less likely of nicking yourself. Stayed very sharp, it's got a good little belly on the front, a nice flat part if you do need to like whittle on something. Haven't used it on wood a great deal, have sharpened it a few times. It's the 420HC, so it is a little bit soft, but apart from that, no issues there at all. This flat screwdriver here, don't really have a great deal of need for flat screwdrivers, just seems to be most of the things we have for Phillips, but it does get the Apple keyboard open and the Dyson vacuum cleaners open as well, that use these larger flat ports. The awl I haven't really used because I haven't really put this into a outdoorsy role. I have put a hole in the belt with it, I think, and that's about it. It's not as good as the Victorinox awl, it's just not as sharp, and it doesn't have this cutting edge here just isn't as good, so probably not one of the best tools on it. This lighter Phillips head, haven't really used a great deal. I think there's been a couple of screws that I've come across that I've used it on, but not a huge amount. File is really positive and really sharp. I've used this for a few really strange things, like the other week I had my Light My Fire fire knife. It had a bit of just raggy plastic on the hand that had been bothering me for ages, so like a couple of strikes with this and it came off. I've used it to rough up bits of wooden handle to put a bit more grip on them. It's been fairly well used. It's a proper carbon, I don't know if it's a carbon steel, but it feels like a proper hard file material, so it would be quite brittle, so you wouldn't want to torque with it, but it's sort of somewhat, I think whether it's still the schmutz or if it's started to rust a little bit, I don't know. I think it might just be fibrous material in there, because the other side's pretty well fine, except for the tip there, which, yeah, I think I could wipe that out, maybe, yeah. I think it's just fibrous stuff that's stuck in there. So the file gets moderate, or occasional use really, who am I kidding? But the main thing, the plier head, I've literally cut whole reinforced, because Ada, our husky, is always getting out. I've done whole reinforcements of the fence with just these wire cutters and pliers. So that's the whole, getting the reel of wire, cutting all the way down it, because you've left your tin snips in the shed and you just can't be bothered going all the way up there. So all the way down, then using the pliers to twitch the wire. I've done that often because for a point, Ada was getting out all the time. So she'd get out, you'd go and get her, find her in the street, bring her back home, let her run around for a bit, watch where she got out, go to the part where she got out, get your wire, fix the hole, and then wait till she found another place. She's like a velociraptor, just testing all the weak parts of the fence. If I was going to review the husky breed, it probably wouldn't be a positive review, as much as I love mine. But there you go. So these pliers have very much been a great part of our anti-husky arsenal. So just indispensable. I know I'm aware these are interchangeable, but they're not showing any need of replacement anytime soon. I'm not overextending them, I'm not cutting nails with them or anything like that, I'm just using it on wire. And of course, they just look really good too, and they meet up really well at the tip. You can pull hairs out with them, just good quality Leatherman pliers. So long-term use review of the Leatherman Rebar. Apart from the Leatherman Swiss tool, which has probably got a little bit more use and has also held up really well, but it's only probably about half the age of the Rebar, maybe even a third of the age. The Rebar is definitely a staple of our house, and for the price, get one of these instead of the Wingman or the Sidekick if you're getting your first multi-tool. I can't be more blunt than that. This is just an enduring design. It's been refined over 3 iterations and just shrunk, because what it went from Super Tool 200, Super Tool 300, Leatherman Rebar, shrunk down version of the 300. They've got it right with this design. It's not as slick and it's a bit more cumbersome. Everything opens from the inside, but everything works well. Nothing is pointless. There isn't that silly file / ruler that you get, or the sort of two-dimensional Phillips that you get on the tools that are the Wingman and the Sidekick, which are the same size. So the Rebar is the one to get, long-term proven, whereas the Sidekick and the Wingman have both long-term failed me. So there we go. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.